The halving is coming, Becky.
I've heard this, yes.
Andrew.
But I also understand where
Prepare.
I know.
Prepare for the halving. The halving is coming.
I feel like I'm on the leftovers.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day today. Having a look at the Bitcoin price, yes, we can see that we did in fact start forming this pennant right here, this bullish pennant, and we are starting to break out. Now, of course, you do have to be a little bit careful, only because I have seen sometimes that these pennants can actually fall, and what they'll actually do is they'll end up putting in some kind of a parallel channel like this, you know, potentially, and then just bouncing around a little bit. But either way, that would still be bullish consolidation before another potential breakout continuing to the upside. And of course, we did point out that we did get that buy signal on the hash ribbon. And of course, you know, based on history, if we just have a look right here, these ribbons, they really tend to give us clues as to when to buy, right? And they do have an accuracy of about 88% of the time. But that being said, what I really want to talk about today is the fact that you've heard so many people talk about whether or not Bitcoin is actually becoming sort of this digital safe haven, and oh, this time is different. And then you hear the naysayers, the haters, like, oh yeah, it's going to be different this time, right? Like the cycle's just going to be totally different. Well, we need to talk about today what is happening, because realistically speaking, we are seeing things right now for Bitcoin that we have never ever seen before. And while all of this excitement is happening in the background, there are literally so many people that are still not paying attention, right? Still, nobody's kind of, maybe, actually, I'm not gonna lie, a couple people have started to reach out. So, okay, is that a top signal? I don't know. But, you know, again, I wanna talk about the ETF. I wanna talk about the risk off asset. And I also wanna talk about, you know, whether or not this would be a buy the rumor or a sell the news type of an event. So we're gonna get into all this today. And also, there's something happening in the background right now that nobody's talking about. And yet this has to be the biggest advertisement for Bitcoin right now. So it is a little bit late over here in Dubai. I think it's like afternoon by you guys in the States. So let's dive in. Let's have a look. I'll try to keep this video a little bit short. So again, Bitcoin, is it a digital safe haven? Oh, and again, guys, make sure you get subscribed, yada, yada, all that, right? Because, you know, with the time zone difference. But anyway, so they say in the face of economic ambiguity and global turbulence, Bitcoin's moniker as digital gold has gained traction, enticing investors to diversify their portfolios beyond conventional stocks and bonds. Now, is this actually true? Or are we just saying it like, oh, now it's actually the safe haven asset because Larry Fink came out and said it? Well, I do kind of want to flip over to this interview that was over on CNBC Market Alert, and we had Anthony Pompliano. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with him, and he was really talking about whether or not it is technically the risk off asset. Because before I turn it over to him, I'm just going to say, and I got a lot of flack. I got a lot of flack in the comments about, oh, you're always talking about the decoupling. Well, what's happening right now? I mean, what's even happening? I mean, let's pull up the S&P right now. Oh my goodness, look at this, guys. Look at this, guys. The S&P is having another red day. The S&P is literally having another red day, okay? And Bitcoin is literally pumping right now. So again, not to whatever, but and I'm getting off topic here. Getting back to this, is it actually a risk-off asset, and should it even be doing this in this type of an enviment?
Something that's inside of the system.
You know what's a little weird this time, Anthony, is that you wouldn't say that there's been risk on in tech over the right-hand side of that. This has not been a risk-on environment from 25 to 34. It's gone up 40% in a risk-off environment. So that almost looks like it's not correlated now, and that's where Larry Fink got the flight that it's money, which to call Bitcoin quality is, in a lot of people's mind, that's anathema. Charlie Munger thinks it's rat shih tzu.
One of the things people have to remember is the best investors in the world act completely differently than the herd. And so right now the herd is saying we're risk off. Every great investor I know is going risk on. They're buying these assets at suppressed prices because they know what's going to happen. We're going to return to loose monetary policy and prices are going to go back up.
Are we though? Higher for longer. Higher for longer. Higher for longer.
You eventually run into math, and ultimately you have a $33.5 trillion debt. You added $500 billion in the last month. We're sending hundreds of billions of dollars around for these proxy wars. If you're going to continue to raise the national debt, you're going to have to inflate it away. And so loose monetary policy is going to be the standard over the coming decades.
Go back. And then, of course, there's always the people out there that have to throw around the question, well, what if Bitcoin gets banned? What if the US government comes out and bans it? Well, we already know they're not going to do that. Also, by the way, you know, BlackRock, just to throw it out there, these guys have really big egos. They're not going to spend this much time and this much effort, amending all these different things in their proposal, which, by the way, the SEC is actually going after them for something completely different, but totally sidetracked here, okay? Bitcoin doesn't care. And this is, it might even actually make it more attractive.
So I think that the companies that deal with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, they care what Washington is doing, right? They're the ones who are spending the money. They're the ones who are doing this. Bitcoin is a decentralized protocol. Bitcoin's not spending any money. Bitcoin doesn't even have a team behind it. And so I think that the companies very much care, and they are lobbying, and they are trying to get these clarity of rules and try to push this forward. But Bitcoin itself, if the government tomorrow came out and banned Bitcoin, everyone else around the world would say, okay. And they probably would actually go buy it, because all of a sudden they would say, hey, this is outside the system. This is something that isn't controlled by any government. It isn't controlled by any individual. And so it's this very interesting thing where decentralization of the protocol really matters. But the companies, they're still centralized companies with American citizens running them, and they definitely care what is going on in Washington.
And then again, there's the question of, would it actually be a buy the rumor or sell the news event, right? Well, I think the fact that we got that fake pump on the Cointelegraph news, remember when they said the ETF got approved and it didn't get approved? I think that showed us that it wasn't priced in, but would we have a buy the rumor, sell the news event? The reality is even if we did have a sell the news event, focusing on day one is definitely not the way to be looking at this.
And so you probably will get some sort of short-term movement just out of the excitement. But I do think that this anticipation is obviously driving the price up. It was 25,000, now it's 34,000. You're just eating into what was potential returns on the approval. And so the question isn't so much what happens on day one. Galaxy Digital just came out with a research report. They think $14 billion will go into the ETF in the first year. If that happens, what does that do to the price? Their expectation is that's going to drive the price 75% higher. And so that's just their estimation around the ETF. If that's true, that's a pretty big price move for an asset that's already hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap.
But again, we're kind of getting all over the place. As you can see, there's lots of exciting things going on right now. So many, it's hard to cram into one video. But kind of getting back to that safe haven asset, is the world finally waking up to the fact that Bitcoin is digital gold, realistically, or is it just something that a bunch of Bitcoiners on Twitter X just throw around? Well, kind of turning it over to Charles Edwards, who's the founder of Capital Investments, he says right here, we now have the biggest asset managers in the world trumpeting Bitcoin as a flight to quality amidst devaluing fiat currencies and mounting global tensions and war. You couldn't ask for more. After 2022 tricked so many into thinking that digital assets are correlated to stocks and bonds, many are left scratching their head at the new old normal. So Jeff Dorman over at Arca, he said a debt spiral leads to a loss of confidence in banks and governments and a repricing of risk-free rates amid record supplies, which is bad for bonds and equity valuation models, but good for alternative forms of wealth and money creation. Oh, and has anybody been paying attention to this, by the way? Look at this, guys. Breaking. The banks are collapsing. We have Citigroup. We have Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. 4 of Wall Street's biggest banks have recently plummeted to levels not seen since the devastating March banking crisis. Year-to-date losses are staggering, with ranges of negative 15% and negative 24%. The banks are collapsing, okay? Meanwhile, Bitcoin's up over 100% this year. If that's not showing you the flight to safety, we had our little test run, right, with the USDC debacle, and what happened? Bitcoin pumped, and now you got four of these major banks literally having some of the lowest levels that they've seen, down up to 24%, and Bitcoin is pumping. So I don't know, guys, the writing is on the wall, but I guess I've just been a little bit too bullish. But you know who else agrees with me? Frankie McDonald just reposted his famous Bitcoin scream. Imagine if I get a copyright strike for that. Frankie. Anyway, so this is the other thing too. Here's the crazy thing. And we've talked about this Bitcoin supply shock, the liquidity shock, right? There's only so much going around. When you start having these droves of institutional players coming in, these big, I don't want to call them the dinosaurs, but there's a lot of them that are kind of afraid to touch, Bitcoin if it's not through one of these traditional vehicles that they're used to. You talk about 1%, 2%, 3% allocation. The question is you have all of this Bitcoin that's missing, right? Like 4 million, whatever Bitcoin that got lost, people mined it, they threw their laptops out, right? Then you have the hodlers, which is like up to like 70% of the current supply. And then you have the liquid supply that's kind of going around right now. But if you have a look at how fast the Bitcoin actually comes out in relationship to the demand, you can see right here, Bitcoin supply absorption suggests the impending halving event is not fully priced in. So they're saying the halving is not priced in. And here's how they come to this conclusion. So the current monthly issuance of Bitcoin, obviously if you do 900 Bitcoin each day, that stands at 27,000 Bitcoin. So the balance of the 27,000 Bitcoin is being consumed overwhelmingly. Now, they obviously have like, whales, miners, sharks, whatever. But ultimately, you could see right here that shrimps are accumulating 25,000 Bitcoin roughly, crabs around 2,265. Meanwhile, we're seeing exchanges having a balance decrease of 9,136 Bitcoin. And then we're also having the Bitcoin miners increasing their balance by 3,075. In total, this absorbed roughly 103,000 Bitcoin. So are you understanding now? Are you getting it? Not you. I know everyone watching is smart. I mean, like you, the generalized people, the people that aren't watching this video, and I feel so bad for them because they're all going to probably miss out on this. Does the world understand essentially what is happening? This is that liquidity crisis, liquidity crunch that we have talked about, and now it's coming to fruition. So all those crazy videos that we made over the past year don't seem so crazy now, do they, guys? They don't seem that crazy. So I'm going to dive in really quick with some TA. Obviously, we're kind of just going a little parabolic right now. So, really the thing to really pay attention to is that we're hitting some of these key levels. Obviously, over here on the futures, we're unable to break above the 35,180 level. You can see we've already had 2 daily tests on that. Now, again, could we get a little bit of exuberance? Could we come up to, another one of these levels, somewhere potentially around 37? Yeah, because we have, a little bit right here. But again, it is getting to the point where, I don't personally think we're going to be going parabolic. I could be wrong. I kind of want to be right though, because I would like to at least have, some of these moving averages, something like this. We're obviously going to end up getting a golden cross at some point. So I wouldn't mind coming back down here, even if we fell below 30,000 back into the $27,000 range. And, some people are saying that this could be bad for Bitcoin, that it would, would break the structure or something like that. I don't really, I guess short term, but ultimately, you do want to have that cool off period. As you guys can see, we've basically been in this parallel channel since we had this crash back here in June of last year, actually. So this is June of 2022. And you can see right here, we basically had this double bottom fake out, right? So it wouldn't be impossible to, and you can even kind of just look at this level right here, right? You can see this level of interest right here, and even maybe down here by these wicks, you can see that interest. So again, this kind of lines up with this parallel channel. So, even if we did have a fake out up here, the possibility of falling back down into this area and having where we had this fake out to the downside, fake out to the upside, that would catch people off guard, and then they'd be like, oh, see, I told you it was fake. We're going, we're going all the way back down. But ultimately, as long as we're putting in higher highs and higher lows, on the structures, it doesn't really matter, because the price action is suggesting a constructive move to the upside. So for the most part, even if we do have a pullback, down to the heart line or even down to the bottom of this channel, although I don't think we're probably going to fall below the 200 weekly again, that's sitting at around 28,400. But again, you could have that fake out, like I said, down to 27, right? You could have one of these. But ultimately, I still think that it remains constructively to the upside. And the the next area obviously would be right here at around 37,278, and you could see that the reason for that is because of all of this confluence, right? There's sort of like three floors or 4 floors, I guess, if you want. So like this is sort of the ground floor of the original structure of the double top from the previous cycle. And then this would be like the second floor. So we're at the second floor right now, right? But it's not uncommon to, you visit the floors and then you come back down and retest it, right? That's very constructive price action. So, you could have a simple stair step like that, maybe something like this, even break back down, catch this long-term trend, come back up, right? But ultimately, what are you still doing? You're still putting in higher lows and you're still putting in higher highs. And, you got to be patient, because you have to understand that each one of these candles represents a week. So, if you just think we're just going to go like this, then you're basically saying in like a month, we're going to be back to the new all-time high. And that's just ridiculous. That's not going to happen, in my opinion. I don't know. There could be some cataclysmic, opposite of a catastrophe. I don't know what you'd call it, a catalyst that could send us to that point. But I'm not really seeing that particularly right now. But again, talking about the giant falling wedge pattern, that still does put us between the ranges of about 47, 53. $1,000. Maybe we even test the 56 area. So that's still minimally in the cards. And yeah, I mean, on the daily, I mean, the lower time frames, I mean, look at this market cipher. Look what we got right here, right? We have this red money flow coming into the green, right? You see how we had the red here? It's coming into the green. So that's showing that money is flowing in. And then we also have, these bigger waves, smaller waves, smaller waves. So you're seeing the waves move to the upside. You're seeing the money flow move to the upside. And I don't think I got to tell you, you're seeing price move to the upside. So obviously it's hard to be bearish right now. But, again, just understand that there is always the possibility of just having that cool off period. So just be careful, especially if you're going like super high on crazy high leverage. And again, if you guys do want to learn how to trade, I have tutorials below. You can check them out right here, popping up above. And, I go over this. So if you want to learn how to trade, obviously profitably, of course, but responsibly, just watch the videos. They're totally free. I definitely don't want anybody out there getting wrecked or, doing anything excessive. So I want you guys to make as much money as possible and accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. So, I wanted to end on this, Nikita Beer saying, before anyone gets excited, let's lay down some ground rules for this cycle. No money, no monkey JPEGs, no Super Bowl ads, no wag me friends speak, no dog money, no 90,000% APY Ponzi's. Are we all in agreement? And, it's kind of funny, but it is true. Like, when we started seeing the meme coins pumping, that was, and if you guys were watching, you remember that was when I got a little apprehensive. That was when I was like, okay, this is usually when people are getting desperate. They're trying to milk the rest out of the market, right? Because usually, like, even if you notice right now, I don't have the chart pulled up, but Bitcoin, Ethereum comparative, Ethereum is losing value to the Bitcoin comparative. It might be going up in dollar value, but in Bitcoin value, Bitcoin is going up faster than Ethereum, right? As far as the relationship. Because remember, at its peak, Ethereum was equal to about 0.1 BTC. I don't know what it is today, but I know it's much less than that. So what usually happens is that, Bitcoin goes up first, and then it usually trickles down into the next blue chips like Ethereum and the ones there. And then it goes into the lower pages. And then usually by the time you see those meme coins pumping, that's usually a sign of caution. So, but we're clearly not even anywhere around that right now. So that's it for me, guys. Again, just pointing it out, if you guys want to be safe, I highly recommend that you guys go get a hardware wallet. It's worth your investment. Obviously, engraves, they're a little bit on the expensive side, but if you actually care about your privacy and your security and you're really serious, these are completely air gapped. And, if you're going to put your Bitcoin away in cold storage, I mean, it's literally impossible to hack an engrave, like literally impossible. Like they're not even connected to the internet. It's all done offline through QR codes and stuff like that. So if you're interested, I do have a link below in the description for that. But guys, that is it for me. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos, even when it's nighttime out here in Dubai, because I love you guys. I should be actually back home this weekend. So hopefully we'll be able to get back on the schedule again. But, anyway, thank you so much for coming back. You guys rock. You're the reason that I make these videos. If you do want to learn how to trade again, check out the free tutorials. Always free tutorials. I don't charge any money. I don't have any courses. Please, if anyone's in the comments, it's a scammer. It's not me. I don't ask for money. So until next time, guys, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.